This is One Ogden. I'm John Miles. Alex McDonald and Craig Bielik have spent the bulk of their careers doing public relations and marketing for healthcare organizations. Alex for Donor Connect, finding ways to spread awareness about organ donation, and Craig with Ogden Regional Medical Center. They're also both active in the community for a variety of causes.
It's a Dean Flying V from the early 80s, and it's neck through, which is very unique as far as guitar.
Neck through? Like it goes all the way through the body?
It means it's one solid piece of wood from the headstock to the tail.
That sounds pretty impressive. I always wanted
cool.
a V. I never felt like I could pull off a V, you know. There's a certain style that takes. So let's talk about, are you from here? Did you grow up here?
Yeah, I actually lived about a mile from here. So up by St. James Catholic Church, up on Harrison Boulevard. I was born and raised right here. Went to Ben Lomond, Weber State, whole bit.
Huh.
I grew up, I wouldn't say I grew up, but I aged here in Ogden.
But he has been to Brigham City. He's gotten out of town a little bit. Yeah.
Once on vacation. I hate to brag. I don't want it to be that kind of a podcast. But.
And what about you?
I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
I've been here 32 years or so, John. So now it's home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so.
So what brought you here?
My wife's job.
Hmm.
So that was when I moved here. It was interesting. First time I've ever been unemployed. So coming here, don't know anybody, don't have a job, and it was, then you hear, of course, Utah. What goes on in Utah? And so, but it was fun. I mean, here I am 32 years later, and it's great.
But we talk about sort of what were your expectations when you decided you were going to move here, and what were your first impressions of the place?
The first time we flew in to take a look at Ogden to see if that's what we wanted to do, what can you do except fall in love with it? I mean, with the mountains and the people are all very kind. So I was sold. I mean, and, kind of ready for an adventure to do something different like that.
Uh-huh.
So, and my impression is still, I love it here. People are great. And I would never think of moving back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
What's so cool about this is where we are, you can go 4 hours in any direction. And it's completely different. It can be Moab, dry, deserty. You can be up in Yellowstone. Yeah, so it's like, there's always an adventure if you look for it.
Yeah.
Brigham
absolutely.
City.
Brigham
City.
Yeah.
Alex has been to Brigham far more than I have.
Yeah, I've actually been to the Bluebird Cafe. So.
Oh, man. See, now he's just rubbing it in.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about growing up here, though. I was a South Ogden kid, and I'm pretty new to this north area, but
Yeah.
it seems like it's growing a lot and has been for a long time.
Oh, it's incredible. So Harrison dead ended at the Catholic Church until I was in late college. So North Ogden almost seemed like a separate land because the only way to get to North Ogden was you had to take Washington Boulevard. And so there was nothing between St. James and, say, about 1900 north. I mean, there literally was nothing. It was just all pasture and stuff like that. We used to catch frogs up at a pond over there that's now somebody's house.
Yeah.
They're probably in his basement. He's probably flooding all the time, that kind of thing. But it was a great place to grow up. It really was. And the mountains were my backyard. My house, literally, the backyard started up into the mountains, into the foothills. And so that's where we spent our time as kids, for better or worse, and did all kinds of things, catching lizards. And we used to take our 22s and shoot the ceramic insulators off the power lines and, all of that kind of stuff.
They're probably still looking for you.
I was going to say, does anybody know the statute of limitations on that?
I think we're all right.
He started the fire in 1962, right?
Yeah.
When that power line dropped.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad in a lot of ways to see what Ogden has transformed to be, but it's also great, too. Because when I was a kid, Ogden was thriving. And then as I got to be a teenager and into my early college years, Ogden started to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the mall came along, and then Ogden was doing pretty well, and then the mall starts to die. And Ogden seems to go through these cycles of rise and fall.
It's
and
pretty cool now.
Really good.
Yeah. But that is the thing I've been wondering about, because for me, it kind of feels like it was not great downtown when I was young, and now it's pretty great. And so I've been wondering if we're going to go back through one of those cycles and what it is that I mean, I don't know. I guess it's hard to predict, right?
Well, you kind of, at least you look at all the construction that's going on, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's going on. There's a lot more people moving in. I don't know how it could cycle down.
Yeah.
In a sense, and when you look at housing prices and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't seem like it could, but who knows? You know?
Right.
Well, the only way we could stop is if everyone stopped having kids. Okay, I mean,
Well,
because
and that's happening.
yeah. Thank you, Alex. Alex did his part to preserve our green space by not having kids. But I mean, where the population is just growing, these people have to live somewhere. They have to work somewhere, and I have a friend that has been my very close friend for more than 60 years, but he's been out of state for a few years. And he just recently came back into the state, into Ogden, and he was like, I cannot believe it. He said, there's an apartment building being put up every single place I go. He goes, this is insane. And I was like, yeah, but you're a construction foreman. Like, you're always building something in somebody's green space or whatever.
Well, yeah,
wouldn't you rather have the apartments than just like a vacant lot?
Well, I don't know, because, when you drive down like 12th Street or Wall, you go, wow, look at all these apartments. And so about 4 months ago, we took a small plane ride over the valley. And when you're up like 4,000 feet and you look over, it doesn't stop. I mean, you think there's a lot going on. It's just crazy going out west. The only thing I'm afraid of is it looks like they're throwing some of these up pretty quickly. What are they going to look like in 10 years? Are they going to be nice places, or were they built in again? I'm not a construction guy, so I don't know. But
well, yeah, there's like that lack of oversight. Like, we, if you're in the city, there's kind of a grid and all of that. But as you get out there, it's like some developer made a neighborhood, and so all the roads curve into each other. And there's all these little pockets where kind of like lose community without maybe some planning.
That seems like it, yeah. Well, and then the kind of oversight, like you're mentioning. What was the building on 25th Street? There's going to be 5 stories. And they got three-quarters of the way done. They go, you got to tear it down. You used the wrong stuff.
Yeah. Who was watching that?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, wait, you guys can't use cardboard for the walls. That's not in code.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start over.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Some of those boxes still have the tomato manufacturer's stamp on them.
Yeah. So how did you two meet?
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
It would be great to come up with some wacky story, but...
Yeah, well, to make a long story short, where I did finally find a job here, we were doing a fundraiser, and Lagoon gave us coupons they printed like 100,000 coupons for us. And so opening day, anybody that had a coupon that brought it back, they gave us $1. And so I remember looking for places where they had a lot of locations, and there was something called Car Quick.
With 2 Ks.
Yeah, cute.
Actually, 3 Ks now.
3 Ks. Ooh, K.
I never thought about that.
Why did I call him? But so I call and I say, hey, we've got these, would you want to distribute them? And he said, well, let's talk. And we met, and that was 32 years ago.
Huh.
Yeah. I had taken a job right out of college working for a chain of convenience stores called Car Quick. And anybody in this area remembers them.
Yeah.
From a long time ago. Car Quick Stimsons, potato logs.
The little 5-cent coins,
5
the wood nickels,
5-cent coins, 10-cent coins.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I still have a bunch of those.
Yeah.
I designed those.
Those were awesome.
Yeah,
those were a big part of my childhood.
One of the things we did was we sold a lot of tickets to bring people through the door. We sold ski passes and things like that. So there was a Car Quick not far from Alex's first home, and we would always put out on the marquee, come in to buy, movie passes and those kind of things. And Alex let us distribute those coupons, and we put them out there. And
they were free.
Yeah. And it worked really well. And it was kind of funny because being a guy who's always been raised in Utah, grew up here, I met Alex, and Alex and I were talking, and it was really fun. And he said, hey, why don't you guys come over for dinner Saturday night? And that doesn't happen a lot in Utah. That's kind of a common thing out of state. But Utah's more like, I got to know you for a good,
12 years. Yeah, and the fun thing is I remember going out to Lagoon the day before opening and talking to my contact there. His name was Dick. And I said, well, Dick, how many cars can your parking lot hold? And he just smiles and looks at me and goes, dream on, Alex, dream on.
Yeah.
The next day, the parking lot was full. The overflow lot was full. Cars were parked on the service road. And a lot of it was thanks to Craig and Cartwick. I mean, they got so many coupons out. So it got like 12,000 people. And we got $12,000. And so,
Nice.
yeah, it was sweet. And I thought, yeah, I got to continue to know this guy. And actually, we've had a great relationship over the years.
Yeah.
I tried to hire him where I worked for a while. And yeah, so it's been good.
Yeah, and we've done, when Alex was working for Intermountain Donor Services, we did a lot of things together. We did these commercials where there was a series of commercials where a man was being picked up by a woman in a taxi cab to ride, and she was always kind of promoting organ donation and that sort of thing. And
he was the passenger.
I was the passenger, yeah. And I'll let Alex tell the story, because I think there was 5 or 6, and the 4 of them was, the guy's getting in the cab and he's like, "Hey, I saw you got a organ donation sticker on there. What's that all about?" And the woman is a young woman, and she's explaining it. That kind of goes through the 4, and then.
Yeah, well, so part of it too is that's important. I don't know if you remember the old coffee commercial, where a guy goes like 2 doors down in his apartment, goes, "Excuse me, do you have any?" And I can't remember what the coffee was, but they have a series of like 3 commercials where they kind of start flirting. Well, we thought, let's do the same thing. And so Craig would be coming out of the hospital and say, "Hey, Leah, how you doing? The hospitals kind of make me nervous." And then he'd bring up a myth about hospitals let people die for donation.
It was really tough to flirt with that beautiful young woman too. That showed my acting chops.
Yeah.
That showed that Craig can get out of character.
So,
and
it was fun as they're kind of, starting to flirt towards the end. And so then we made a real decision to go to the stations. And this is back when they had tapes and everything. And we said, "Give us those tapes. We won't run those anymore." And gave them the last one. And it's where the cab pulls up. And Craig gets in and goes, "Hey, Leah." And he goes, "Wait a minute, you're not Leah." And this guy turns around and goes, "No, she died yesterday."
Oh.
And Craig goes, "She died? What happened?" And she's waiting for a heart transplant. Never came. I mean, it's still,
Yeah,
gets me.
that's
I mean,
effective.
it was a very effective ad. And, Craig did a great job. I mean, just to play the emotions and everything just right. And the thing is we kind of set that up on purpose. And we did get like more news stories. How, well, tell us about this Leah and how she died. And so we did. And what was funny is we got probably about 120, 150 phone calls, emails, letters. Half of them were women going, "How can we reach Leah's family to send our condolences?"
Oh, wow.
Man, are we good or what? Yeah. And then about a third were people going, "How could you show somebody dying? That's just terrible. I think that's just awful." And well, that's what happens when people don't say yes to donation. And then the remaining were people are going, "It's about time somebody shows what happens when people don't want to help other people and say yes."
Yeah.
So it was amazing. And so Craig did a great job through those ads. And that was really a lot of fun. I mean, we actually physically went and bought the cab. Yeah. I mean, so my boss too, Tracy, he was very good about do something creative, and he was really happy with it. And then we also did the ads that are still playing in the driver's license office.
oh yeah, we did this series of ads where it was called The Uninformed Comic. I'm a stand-up comic, also. I've done that for a long time. And basically, the concept is the comic is up there making a joke about organ donation, and the audience starts booing him because he doesn't know what he's talking
He's
about.
clueless.
That kind of stuff. And those have been playing in the Driver's License Bureau for about 6 years or so.
Oh,
And-
as people are signing up for their driver's license, that's when they're marking the box.
That is
I see.
correct.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
there's
That
a
was
TV up in
Alex's
the lobby.
idea. In fact, last August I had to renew my driver's license, and I went in and they were up there playing, and I was like, "These people are going to kill me. They have been watching this commercial for 6 years. They are not going to renew my license."
Seriously, it's been more like 10.
Has it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I
And
know
so-
I had black hair, one chin, and hope in my eyes still.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know.
So that was
it's been a
15
long-
years ago. Yeah.
It's been a long
Oh,
time.
yeah, that wasn't 10.
It's been a long time, but this is what's fun about it is Alex has been able to think out of the box.
Yeah.
I mean, who would connect a cab with organ donation and
Yeah.
that sort of thing? I will add one little anecdotal thing to what he said. I was in Walmart, and this older lady came up to me and she said, "You're the man in the cab commercials." And I said, "I am," and because people would do that.
Yeah.
She said, I think it's horrible that lady died.
Uh-oh.
And I said, oh, she didn't die. I said, she's very much alive, and we were just trying to make a point. And she said, well, I don't like that point. It depresses me. I said, okay. I mean, that was the intent of the whole campaign, was to wake people up to these issues. And, and we also you and I did some benefit comedy shows for a young lady that was waiting on a heart transplant, actual young mother.
Yeah, Bambi Thomas.
Bambi.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
Her and her family, and she did die waiting for a heart transplant.
Wow.
And the ad wasn't based on her or anything,
No.
but that was, one of those. That's why I was there 27 years, and it was just these kinds of things that, Tracy allowed us to be creative, but then also meeting these wonderful people that were donor families, wonderful people that had received a transplant. We're so thankful. It was great. And then being able to work with people like Craig and just really reach out to the whole community and just, like Craig was saying, get different ideas going. We can't just do the usual stuff. We've got to call attention to things a little bit more.
Right.
I only did it hoping that they would move me up on the list if I ever needed a liver or something like that.
Right.
They'd be like, he's number 1700, but they'd be like, yeah, but it's Craig, the cab guy. Okay, put him ahead.
Yeah, he's number 5 now. Yeah.
Yeah. But so you both have had careers in public relations, right? That's kind of what both of you do. And yours was with, it's called Donor Connect, right? Intermountain Donor Connect?
It used to be Intermountain Donor Services. That was for long term. Now it's called Donor Connect.
Okay. Yeah. And yours is with who?
Mine has been split. I spent 13 years with the Standard Examiner.
Oh.
And now 18 years with Ogden Regional Medical Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, you're almost like an admin, and maybe with the Standard Examiner, you are kind of really an admin.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious if it's like, I don't know, is it different working for something like Intermountain Healthcare? Like it's a whole kind of different mission, right?
Yeah.
If you worked for him, you'd know.
Yeah, Ogden Regional Medical Center is actually part of Mountain Star. That's okay. I've never heard of Intermountain. I'll Google them right after this and see. Are they still open?
I don't know.
I think they're in Montana.
I didn't even know. Well, working in healthcare, Alex knows this too. It's different than most marketing professions because we're selling something people don't want. Okay, nobody wakes up in the morning. Well, if you're 8.5 months pregnant, you might do this, but nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "God, I hope I get to go to the hospital today," or "I sure hope I have to consider organ donation this afternoon." Something like that. So it's a little different and a little tricky. And healthcare, healthcare is just it's again something people don't want. It's something they occasionally need.
Yeah. But like, are you marketing to consumers? Is it like when you have to pick a hospital, come to ours? Like, how is that?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're trying to put out there that we have great quality and of the services that we can offer. And maybe we've got a new 16 slice CT scanner or something like that helps image things much better within your body. So we're marketing to the public, we're marketing to the physicians, we're marketing to the payers, the Blue Cross Blue Shields, all of those kind of things. So,
I see.
Yeah, all of that. And a lot of it is public relations. Lately, my job has changed a lot into the online space. So reputation management is part of it, watching Google reviews and taking care of those and making sure people feel like they're heard and that action is taken. And then, of course, social media, getting those kind of things out there. It's changed remarkably.
So I was at Ogden Regional like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Spent
great.
the night there.
Great.
You guys
Are you okay?
I am.
Oh.
I got a surgery.
You should have called me. I'd have done it for half price.
No, you guys have a robot. The robots did it.
Oh, okay. A robot took my job.
Yeah, that's right. But I was actually, my brother had a very similar surgery 2 years ago. He had to get this big incision. Ogden Regional, I think, is one of the only who has this robot thing that can get in you. I thought it was crazy. I was like, I didn't know that your care could vary that much, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, only certain people have certain equipment and stuff. I never really realized.
Well, and a lot of it comes down to the doctors, too. You have to be credentialed and you have to be further educated to operate that robot.
The technology, though, is changing so fast, too, from even 2 years ago.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and we came in contact again when I went to work for the hospital because Alex, part of his job was to come up to the hospital and educate our caregivers as to what steps they need to take to ensure that a person who wants to be a donor ends up donating.
Well, and it does seem like you guys have that, since you're both in it, you can kind of bounce off each other and let's workshop ideas and make them funnier. And
Oh, I have tattooed right here on my stomach, "Give my liver to Alex."
It has been nice, John, like you're saying. I mean, we have coffee probably once a month or so, and it's especially when I was working full time, we would sit around and kick around ideas, and it's one of those things where healthcare is serious, organ donation is serious, but if you can get people to kind of laugh a little bit, then they open up and they're willing to talk. So, but if you're real serious all the time, and people aren't. They don't warm up to that really easily. But if you can get them to chuckle a little bit and kind of go, well, that's what I was worried about, then you can have a conversation. So it's always worked well.
yeah.
A funny idea Alex had years ago, I'd forgotten about this one until just now, was during political season, he had this idea to have this political rally at one of the universities. Was it University of Utah?
It was, yeah.
And it was called Vote for Donation.
Vote for Hope.
Vote for Hope. Okay, that's what it was. And I played a candidate who the only thing I talked about, my only political issue, my only platform issue was organ donation.
Oh, okay.
And so we had this rally and we had people with picket signs and all that kind of stuff. And the press turned out.
Yeah.
And it was really a great idea because it was a political rally that wasn't really political. It was all about donation, which is a good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just fun, and Craig played the part well, and I mean all these students are gathering around, going, "What's going on?" And the media was there, and
again, that shows my acting chops that I could also be a slimy politician.
Very good at that. Yeah. Why aren't you running now?
We need you now more than ever.
I know the atmosphere's right.
Yeah, that's right. The appetite's there.
We need to have a laugh now. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you guys were learning this stuff, learning PR, like was the hope that you were going to go into, I don't know if you call it mission-driven PR, or, you know what I mean? Did you always kind of hope to work for nonprofits?
Not myself. I mean, I was an art student at Weber State, and I kept thinking, I'm not really very good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, my mom likes my paintings, that kind of thing.
Passed.
But I was always interested in advertising, and Weber State didn't have a public relations or advertising degree back then. So I got a degree in art and marketing, figuring that would lead to a path into advertising, which it did in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm doing kind of what I always wanted to do, and by luck and by help from a lot of people. But I spent a lot of years also working in a factory and a convenience store at nights and those kind of things. So it's been a strange path by luck, but I never ever considered working for healthcare. It just wasn't anything that I was thinking about. But I was at the standard examiner, and one of the things I did as part of my job was study readership. And the latest readership studies I got was showing a train wreck coming from newspapers. And I thought, I have got to do something else. I loved the paper. It was wonderful to work there. And right around this time, a friend of mine who had this position at Ogden Regional called me and said, I'm leaving, and we were kicking around some names today, and yours come up. And she said, are you interested? And I said, yeah, I think I am. I knew nothing about healthcare. I mean, absolutely nothing. And the first year was overwhelming because healthcare, well, for one thing, it runs on acronyms. You got a cabbage,
Crazy.
we've got a CTL, we've got a CT, RT, all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, those acronyms, man, I was SOL for quite a while because I just didn't know
what does SOL mean?
What's the rating on this podcast?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want it to be. But it was a good move, and it's been great, and I learned a lot. That's for sure. But I don't know. Did you Was healthcare on your radar? I don't think.
I never really thought of it when I went to college. I have a double major in political science and speech communications, and I wanted to write speeches for politicians. And I actually worked on a number of campaigns back in Minnesota for Congress people, school board, and kind of thought, I don't think this is what I really want to do. So I had a couple of different sales jobs and then things in education. And this actually working with organ donation was kind of both. It had to educate people, but then had to sell the idea of donation. And so I think the political science background kind of helped because I'm trying to get people to switch from the party of no to the party of yes. And so it's the same kind of campaign kind of thing as what is it these people need to hear to make them go, oh, this looks like a better idea than what I'm thinking of now. And actually, and again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's thanks to Tracy letting us be creative, people like Craig helping. Utah was number one for a number of years for the percentage of licensed drivers signed up as donors. And I mean, we were always in the top 3 in the country. And again, I think it was Tracy hired people and he let them do what they did best. And he was just a phenomenal leader. So kind of a rambling story there, but it was one of those things where I was there for so long because the mission was cool. The people I got to work with were great. They paid me okay. And it's like, isn't that 90% of what you look for? And I thought, why would I go anywhere else? So that's why I was there for 27 years.
Yeah. It's funny because I knew nothing about organ donation at all until Alex started working there. And about 6 years ago, I had a family member that went into total kidney failure at a very young age. And it was great because I knew a little bit about organ donation. And we ended up having breakfast with my family member, Alex and I, and kind of walked through what was going to be needed. And she did get on the list, but received a kidney from a relative. And then also one of my super close friends, when he got a disease called polycystic fibrosis in your kidneys. So they're cysts in your kidneys. They're not cancerous. That's about the only good thing you can say about them. And he ended up losing both of his kidneys and also had to get a kidney donation. And so I knew a little bit about this to talk with them about these kind of things. And I actually have seen with my own 2 bare eyes the results of organ donation.
Well, and that's what it feels like in both of your careers is that, you're trying to get people to think about stuff that they don't necessarily want to think about, or like, you're not really thinking about medical stuff until it affects you, but you're asking people, hey, just, you could make a big difference right now if you just sort of think about this now. But it's sort of like that woman. They're like, don't put this in front of my face. I'm actively ignoring this. Right?
Yeah.
Well, none of us wants to think about getting sick or whatever. And the only thing, and you mentioned nobody wakes up and wants to go to the hospital. There is patients that are, when they get that call about we've got a heart, we've got a liver, they can hardly wait to get to the hospital because that means they're going to have extended life. So that would be the one exception where somebody is anxious to get to the hospital. But you're
Step
right.
on it.
Get
me there quick.
But you're right. I mean, these are topics. I mean, nobody wants to talk about illness or death. I mean, they're just not topics we like to talk about as human beings. But it's going to happen to all of us. We're all going to get sick at some point, some severely, some not so bad. We're all going to die. We know that. Just some younger, some older, from various causes. Who knows? So, there was just a quick story. When I first started working there, there was a woman that was 4 years out on her heart transplant. Now, keep in mind, this was, again, now it would be like 32 years ago. But I thought this was a brilliant question. I said, so how long do you expect how long do the doctors expect you to live? And she just looked at me and said, I don't know. How about you? and touche. And now I look back and go, what an idiot. What kind of stupid question was that? But her response was, I still use it a lot when I'm talking to people. It's like, we just don't know. And the last time I saw her was about 7 years ago, and she was still doing fine after something like 25 or 26 years with a transplant. So, I think a lot of people have the impression you get a transplant, you just sit and watch TV because you can't do anything. And that is not true at all.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. You guys probably both get to see some of those positive outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really eye-opening thing for me was Alex used to invite us to a dinner that you guys did, I think annually, something like that, where there were both donor families and recipient families, not direct donor and recipients, but donor and recipient families that would tell their stories. And I remember, I'm probably going to get the details wrong, but I remember there was a man whose son was shot in a robbery in Italy.
Yeah.
And he was able to donate his son's organs. And then there was also a family who had a young son who received organs, again, not directly from this person, but to hear their stories of, this is the only good thing that came from what happened to my son. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, we wouldn't have him here with us right now if that hadn't happened. And to hear those kind of things straight from the people that they actually happen to is always just really, really eye-opening as to what you can do. I mean, I know there are people that have different attitudes, but my attitude is take what you want. Okay, I'm obviously not going to need it. So if there's anything you can use, sorry for the person that gets my liver. College was a pretty wild time, but
maybe it can help.
But take what I want. Take what you want, and let somebody else, deal with it.
Yeah.
A close friend of mine passed away. He had cancer, but they were able to use his corneas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would love to speak to the person who got his corneas.
Uh-huh.
I know that's not possible because part of the process is to keep donation anonymous.
Yeah.
Although I make this joke lately that they're starting to do face transplants. They're starting to do face transplants. And I'm like, how do you keep the donor anonymous in that case? Did you get that face from Jeff? No.
Why?
Why?
So let's talk about kind of involvement in the community. Like, I know both of you to be very, you're the kind of guys who will say yes. Like, people come to you for stuff and you're ready to kind of help out and be there. I wondered if that was maybe rooted a little bit in the public relations and in that you're out there trying to bring people together and, you kind of see the value of it. And so then that's what makes you.
Well, for me, yeah, it's very rewarding to be able to participate in other, whether it's a fundraiser for an organization or helping somebody with organizing a fundraiser, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's rewarding to see it, and you meet cool people. If you don't get out and do stuff, life's pretty boring.
That's right.
And so it's fun to get out and do those things, and I think and get involved and get to meet more and more people in this community. And there's a lot of great people out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always considered it part of my job. Well, it is part of my job to be out in the community and make sure that people know about Ogden Regional, to make sure that people know that we support our community, that we are in our community. We're not just there to take your money and give you a shot of penicillin and those kind of things. We want to support your golf tournament to raise money. We want to support, your 5K run, whatever it is, to the extent that we can. We can't do everything. Mm-hmm. And like Alex said, I consider it a great adventure. Mm-hmm. Both Alex and I are people who like to be out with people. I've seen some super crazy things happen. They make great stories. I'm sure both of us could write a book about things that can happen. And I donated some time. I had a friend that would hold these rock concerts down at the Ogden Amphitheater, mm-hmm. and he would give the money to charity. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was great because I got to be involved in rock music, and he would have me host and help out with a few things. In fact, on my wall of shame was I once introduced Vince Neil from Motley Crue, who did a show down there. Wow. I introduced him by the wrong name. And
you call Neil Young, I hope.
Yeah, in front of 12,000 people. What happened was it rained in between the opening act and his time, and his manager wouldn't let him go on stage, and because it was raining, and the clouds were going to pass, so we waited an hour or more, and I had to keep going out and telling the crowd, "Hey, we're just about ready," and they were ready to kill me, okay, because they thought it was my fault. One thing Alex knows this is if you're the MC, everybody thinks you're responsible for everything in the entire world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all of a sudden I got noticed. Hey, get out there and announce him. And the opening band I think was Tesla. And instead I went out and said, "Are you guys ready? Welcome Tesla." And Vince swore at me. That's one of my crowning achievements.
Yeah, you wrote it in your journal.
I've been personally sworn at by Vince Neil. But I think it's super fun to get out there and be involved. I love just seeing what's happening everywhere. Everything from the Alzheimer's walk to, whatever benefit concert, that sort of stuff. And it is fun, and you meet great people.
Yeah.
You have some very lasting and deep friendships with people that I probably never would have met otherwise.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, your career as an MC is impressive. Like, I'm jealous of it. I kind of wonder how it started, because I swear there are years, like 4 events in the summer. It was all hosted by Craig Bielik. And you're willing to do it all the time.
Yeah, I think that when anybody that'll give Craig a mic, I'll step up to it. And also, I know all of the event organizers go, with the threat of terrorism, who do we have that we could lose? Who's expendable? I'm always the first name. I added it up a little while ago for a chamber project that I did, and I've hosted about 450 events in Ogden.
Wow.
But
That's impressive.
I have a family too, and that came at a price.
Sure.
A lot of times I would take my family with me and my wife, but she doesn't really enjoy sitting in the crowd, watching me. That's just really not all that fun.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you,
I can attest to that.
Oh,
No.
Right. We've been to your events, Craig.
but it's been fun, and by the way, my wife, this is hilarious. I was hosting an event called Real Men Can Cook. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
the
it's one of the first places I saw you.
Oh my gosh, that was a great event. And she was with me, and about every 5 minutes, I'm required to get on the microphone and say, "Hey, everybody, in about 5 minutes, Bob Hunter's going to unveil his peach cobbler. Let's get a line over here. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Purina and all that kind of stuff." And I picked up the microphone to say that, and all of a sudden my wife started saying exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "You could do this." And she said, "I could not with anybody looking at me." And so it was a roving mic, and I said to her, "Step behind that curtain with no one looking at you and do this." And she did it note for note perfect. So she would have to be the unknown announcer.
Yeah.
The what do they call it? VOG? Isn't that what when there's like a voice that's over the speaker that no one knows? They call it voice of God.
That's
voice
right.
of
Yeah.
God.
Okay. Right. So were you ever not comfortable with a microphone?
Mm-mm. No, I've always loved it. My earliest memories were in about 3rd grade. I went to Hillcrest Elementary School. Right over there off of Harrison and 2nd Street. And I remember I was chosen to be MC for the Christmas program with the microphone, and I loved it. The only thing is the microphone cut out, and I thought it had something to do with the plug. So I went over and I grabbed the microphone jack, which back in those days was an analog jack, what I'm talking about, and I tried to plug it into the socket, and it sparked. Probably could have killed me. It was really embarrassing. But
this close.
I always loved the microphone. I know.
Almost, yeah.
It was my rival. It was that darn George Remkus. He'd set the whole thing up. I don't know, Alex. You've always been comfortable on the microphone.
Yeah. No, it's part of when I was taking speech communications was Toastmasters, and so a lot of that is improvisational and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm comfortable with the mic, and people throw weird questions at you, and as it makes it fun.
Right.
I've never done Toastmaster, and I want to know something, Alex. Did you actually do toasts? Were you ever required to give like a very serious toast to Dave the tire guy or whatever.
There wasn't any formal toast things, but it might be once in a while if you had to say, okay, it could be like, here's a topic, so-and-so is retiring, give a nice toast for him. And then you'd have to think, okay, you got to make something up real quick and watch your ums and ands and uhs, just give it. And so it was great training. I recommend Toastmasters to everybody that even thinks they're going to speak in front of people.
I forgot about that. I took a speech class in 7th grade, and I was always getting bad marks for saying because. Because the teacher kept saying, it's because.
Oh.
And I do not like because. Because sounds ignorant. And so I remember one time, 14 because was written on my paper.
Well, what they used to do in Toastmasters, they had a can, and somebody would have either like quarters or slugs. Every time you said and after a while you go, and then I want to say, instead of going and then I want, So at any rate,
right. That's like how you train a dog, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or so I can still sit up too.
Filming those cab commercials actually was quite a chore. Alex had hired some professional producers. It just wasn't. And this was back in the day before everybody had their own camera phone and all of that.
They had a big setup.
It was a big setup. There was a makeup guy. I had a makeup guy, and bless his soul. I mean, he was one of the most challenged people in the entire world. Make Craig look good. He's like, I'm not a miracle worker,
and he wasn't.
But we did many takes because the producer wanted it to get it right, and there were times when there were basically 3 main actors in those commercials, and there were times when they pushed all of us, and I had no acting experience. The others were acting students from University of Utah, I believe. And he would just say, you're not getting it right. You are not getting it right. This is what I want. This is what I want. And, I remember the cab girl, she was pretty upset one day, very, very upset, because she had her own version of what that character was, and the producer had a version of what the character was. And sometimes they didn't jive. And again, these are 30-second commercials.
Yeah.
So hats off to the people that make movies.
Yeah, no kidding. Talk to me about getting involved in politics. I'm guessing that's rooted in your studying of political science and all that.
It is. And, back again in Minnesota, worked on a number of campaigns. So when I moved here, I thought it would be interesting, to get involved in politics, just to see what the politics are like. And then, of course, to meet more people, too. So then I got involved with the Democratic Party, locally, and all 3 of us used to go out and have coffee. The interesting thing to me about Utah is such a strong Republican state. It's just so amazing to me, because Minnesota was pretty blue, but at least purple, if nothing else. There was a lot of good give and take.
And I'm curious, like we were saying, you sort of have been in the business of trying to get people to pay attention to things they're not paying attention to. But that politics seems like it was a whole different beast. Like, you can't draw people's attention over in the same way.
How do you get them involved?
Yeah.
Well, and especially since it is such a strong red state, how do you get anybody to listen to your message?
Right.
And there just a real funny story is, so I ran for county commissioner, and I thought, I'm going to get kilts. I was going to be the thrifty Scott, Alex McDonald, the thrifty Scott.
You're going to get kilt?
And I did.
I love it.
Yeah. So I go out west to buy kilts. There's a fellow out west that sells kilts. So I get out there, and I say, well, I want to get the full dress kilts. I want the, like I'm, just all dressed up. Oh, you getting married or something? And I said, no, actually, I'm going to be running for county commissioner. And you should see the look on his face. And we don't like the commissioners out here.
Oh.
And I said, well, really? Talk to me. And so he gave me a list of things that he didn't like about the commissioners. He goes, but that's a whole nother thing. Let's just get you measured. So you measure, order stuff. And he said, so you're going to primary against the opposing candidate? You're going to? I said, no, actually, I'm going to run as a Democrat. Oh, we're all Republicans out here. And I said, well, from what you just said 5 minutes ago, it served you well. I'm still not going to vote for you. Yeah. And so it's the funniest thing is, people don't like who their representatives are, but they're not going to switch because they just can't vote for a Democrat. You know, I find that just so interesting. Yeah, I can't stand that person in office, but I'm not going to vote for anything else.
Yeah. I'd rather have a person I hate than a person I really hate.
Well, that's probably what he's thinking.
Yeah, or a person I'm pretty sure I'm going to hate. I'm fairly certain I might hate you, so I'm just going to vote for the guy I hate.
Well, and you're a McDonald, and I'm a Campbell, and it goes back 800 years.
Yeah, that goes. Yeah, our tribes have been at war.
So you tried to put your PR brain on that one, and
yeah, well, you know, at the time. And I always thought people here were pretty conservative with their money, you know? And I understand that. And so I'm looking what commissioners make. And they make a lot of money. And nobody knows who their commissioners are, and if they are, they don't like them. And so I'm kind of thinking, did you know they make close to $200,000? Do you even know what they do? Did you even know there was a county commissioner? And then
they get a $600 a month car allowance.
Yeah. And I'm going, so police people are getting paid $50,000 a year, and they're putting their life on the line. And these guys are sitting in air-conditioned offices making close to $200. Does this seem fair?
Yeah.
And that didn't resonate with anybody, or at least. Well, so the other thing, John, just real quickly. So at the end of the day, after all the races are in, I'm looking at all the offices in Weber County and state legislator, stuff like that. And there was a nice young man, I can't remember his name, but he ran for Weber County auditor as a Democrat, and he paid the $35 filing fee. I raised and spent quite a bit of money on my campaign, but looking at the column for each of the different things that people could run for throughout Weber County, 65, 35, 65%, 35%, 65%, 30, didn't matter. Didn't matter how much you spent, didn't matter what you did. It's just 65% Republican, 35% Democrat, just straight down the ticket. And that just amazed me.
Yeah. It's like nobody knows how to move that needle.
Yeah.
That just is where it is.
Yeah. So
I know that it's probably not going to change soon.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, too, being a lifelong resident here, I have seen change. Because, you know, it used before my time, but Utah was a solid Democratic state for many years, and there's a lot of theory as to why that flipped and all of that. But Salt Lake City used to be just the bastion of hardline Republicans, and now, boy, there's quite a bit of change down in our capital for a number of reasons. So it can change, and it might. I don't have a crystal ball, but
I know
somebody might get 36% one year.
It's an increase.
You never know. That'll be when we know something has happened.
That's right.
They need a move.
When I worked for the Standard Examiner, I joked that one of the ways, one time we were trying to come up with a way to save ink and newsprint. You know, we were trying to figure out ways, and I said to everybody, you know, every time we do a news story with a politician in it, we publish the little R after their name in parentheses to indicate they're a Republican. Cut that out. You know, there's no need for that. Everybody knows that if the politician's name is in a Utah newspaper, they're a Republican. Okay? Go ahead and print the D if you want to, but they don't need the R in there.
Smaller font.
I think I figured it out, and it came up to something outrageous that we'd save 3 miles of newsprint a year if we did something like that, which wasn't true.
So what's that? You're involved with the chamber, right?
Yes.
And are you called the boosters when you've got all those
spikers?
The spikers.
The spikers. The guys with the jacket
and all the
300 pins on the front. Yeah.
Because I see them like. Is that just kind of all about helping things succeed?
Yeah. I mean, the chamber is basically an organization that allows business people to connect in ways that they might not connect. You know, let's say you open your own glass business, for instance, and you know you're a mom and pop shop. You may not have a person to go out there and make sales, and you know you can only call on 6 places a day or something like that. Plus, you got to be in the shop. With the chamber, you have a couple of networking opportunities like the business after hours, where you can come and meet with 75 people in an hour, something like that, to get your message out. And the Spikers are the welcome ambassadors for the chamber. So a couple of things that we do. We go to ribbon cuttings for new chamber business members. We also welcome groups of people into the state or into our area. We did a lot during the Olympics with making sure we were assigned the curling teams to make sure that they got a chance to go out on all of that. And then also we are the ambassadors for the chamber to make sure that new members feel comfortable and are meeting the people that they want to meet. And we're kind of a conduit between the person that's walking into a room for the very first time and 80 business people that know each other,
Right.
to kind of get those guys in between them. So we do about 70 ribbon cuttings a year. There's about 30 different chamber events during the year that we help conduct. It's one of the things I truly like because I get to meet new people. I get to go out to new businesses and find out about stuff before other people do. And there's a lot of free food. Greg likes that part. Greg likes that part. A lot of restaurants, they always make sure that they've got samples out, and we like that kind of part. But it's a social thing too, and I love it. We have a very strong chamber in this area, something like 1,700 members.
Oh, wow.
Which is very strong. They work hard at making sure people feel like they're involved in the business community. And when somebody joins the chamber, I think mainly what they want to do is they want to further their business. They want to meet somebody, like I'm a glass guy. I want to meet somebody in an insurance company so that they'll refer us when somebody's window breaks, that kind of stuff. And so that's where that opportunity lies.
We can provide insurance so it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm in the glass business. I want to meet a bunch of little kids that throw rocks.
That's right. Let's get Boy Scout troop in here.
I like that. I don't know what that would be called, but I like it. But it's also like you'll be local businesses and then like big national businesses too. They all kind of will coalesce in there, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of larger businesses that have franchises here in our area, and there's a lot of mom and pop shops. And it's really about making connection. And what we want to make sure is the people that are paying that fee are getting what they want out of the chamber. And mostly they want opportunities to meet other people.
Yeah.
The chamber has various committees. They have, they've got like new members, and they've got like government affairs and military affairs. I want to make it clear, though, if you're on those committees, you do not get to have an affair with somebody from the military.
Hey, come on. It's
okay, I just want to, sounds like false advertising.
I was going to sign up.
Yeah. I don't know, Alex, you've been a chamber member.
No, actually not.
Well, wasn't Intermountain Donor a chamber member?
No.
What?
But that also always had you kind of networking down in Salt Lake, weren't you? You kind of had more of a statewide...
That was the thing is my office is in Salt Lake. And then the service area that we had was all of Utah and then southern Idaho. And so that's kind of where the politics is fun, too, because I was a lobbyist for organ donation in both Utah and Idaho. And it was fun to, have that interaction with legislators and figure out what is going to make this idea that I have something they would want to put into legislation. And they're in both states, it was pretty successful because it was finding somebody that had a passion for wanting to help others. And I think legislators, as a rule, do go into that because they want to help their community. They want to help people. And we passed, I totaled it up once, John, something like 12 bills in Idaho and something like 14 here in Utah, promoting donation in one form or another. And the process is very interesting. And so, but you're right. I mean, I worked with the health department, driver's license divisions, kind of the higher level to get them to cooperate and work with us. And so it was fun.
Well, and that was another thing I was curious about. We talk about how maybe the political needle is hard to move, but when you're lobbying, those people can be swayed, would you say?
Yeah. And the thing is, of course, with organ donation, you're helping people. And so it's hard to say, well, no, I don't want to help you.
Yeah.
Whereas we're not asking for, acreage to build something on, or will you, pass this bill so these people can't do this or can't do that. It was, do you want to help us get the word out to more people so there's more donors, so more of your constituents can live when they need a transplant? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they look like a hero because
Right.
they've done something. And I've got to say, working with legislators and those types of things, some of them had a lot of good questions. And it's one of those things, if I can't answer those questions, then they shouldn't agree with me. So they had a lot of good, tough questions, and some of the things we had to overcome. One of them up in Idaho, just as a quick example, you can donate $2 when you renew your driver's license or get one. And it says this is to help fund organ, eye, and tissue donation. And in Utah, we had that for years. And so I was up in Idaho, and we wanted to promote it there. And this one lady, the legislator, just said, well, you people make so much money selling organs. Why do you need $2? And that's a tax, and we're not going to tax people. Well, it's a voluntary thing, so it's not a tax. People voluntarily can give that money, and we don't sell organs. We're nonprofit. So we had this back and forth, and I'm trying to do my best just to explain things. Finally, one of the other legislators across the table was, Martha, please be quiet. He has explained to you they're nonprofits. They don't sell organs. They can't sell organs. It's against the law. Now, can we please have a vote on this? And they voted in favor. So I think she kind of helped me in a backdoor way.
Yeah.
Everybody's so angry at Margaret. Let's just get this passed. So
It's interesting because I sat on the original committee to launch RAMP in this area, and I got a lot of calls from people, and they were really angry, and they were saying, we want no more tax. The end. And I would say, this is 1 penny on $10 when you eat out at a restaurant. And it all goes into museums.
But where does
art.
it stop?
Right.
Where does
That's
it stop?
exactly what they said. 1 penny here, 1 penny there. Pretty soon it's 100 pennies. That's $1. That kind of thing. And when I joined the RAMP committee, they said, we're going to put this up for a vote. And they explained it all. And I was like really excited. I thought, this is great. This is incredible. Other cities have done this. Look at what they do. Who in the world could oppose this?
It's a ramp. It's a slippery slope. That's what ramp is, and it's going to keep increasing.
You called me. I just realized that Alex punked me.
I'm not paying
Alex
that.
punked me like 5 times a night. But yeah, I was absolutely set back and amazed at the fact that that there was opposition.
Yeah.
And boy, was I naive. And I understand there's 2 sides to every argument, or more. Yeah, there's 300 sides to every argument. I mean, when I first went to work for the newspaper, I thought there was things you could say that were absolutely indisputable. And I found out
Silly
that
boy.
I know. I found out. I mean, we could print, the sky is blue, and we'd get 30 letters. Of course it's blue. You've always favored the Y, and or how dare you say it's blue? There's 300 shades of blue. Can't you be more eloquent? Is it azul? Is it cobalt? Is it that kind of thing? But getting back to what Alex was saying, there are a lot of people who said it's a tax. Tax is bad. Doesn't matter how much it is. It doesn't matter what it goes for. If you want to use a museum or a park, you should pay for it. The end. And I could not move the needle with those people. And interestingly enough, the ramp tax almost did not pass. It went to a recount that first year. And it's been much more passable lately because one of the things the committee has been able to do, I left the committee years ago, but is when it comes time for the ramp vote to come up, they put pictures. Ramp did this. Look at this park. Ramp did that. Ramp did this. Ramp did that. But holy mackerel, did I get an earful from Alex. I just realized I recognize that voice now. I know that was him that called me.
I have to stand up for somebody.
Well, thank you guys. I said it before, but you guys are both kind of this personification of supporting the things you care about, using your creativity to try to elevate stuff you think is important. And I just really appreciate it about you both. And I appreciate you coming to talk to me about it.
Thanks for having us on.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
This
Thanks
gave
for
us
doing
an
what you do.
excuse to have coffee this morning.
Good.
Yeah.
Right at one of our local places, Beans and Brews. Great place. Go down there, guys.
Best chai latte I've had in years.